Welcome back to Literally First Class. Today we're talking about how the nervous system is your strategy. Now, some of you at this point, you've been hanging with me for a bit. Maybe some of you are new though, and you're like, what the fuck is she talking about? So I want to just share with you what I mean when I say the nervous system is your strategy. Now, first I'm going to share a story and then I'm going to go back. So I promise that we'll loop around. I've invested thousands of dollars in my personal development. And you know, the one thing that has moved the needle the most is quote unquote mindset work. It's transformation work because who I'm becoming as I do the actions has shifted inside, right? It's how I've upgraded my success by upgrading my internal state. Yes, you can do this. You can upgrade your success by upgrading your internal state. Here's how I know this to be true, and here's why you can do this too. Have you ever had a strategy, a business strategy, a marketing plan, something in front of you, and you know all the things to do? It could even be a workout regimen, and you know the things to do, and despite knowing what to do, you're not doing any of them? Why do you think that is? It's because who you're being has not shifted. And the other thing is because there are internal and invisible barriers and blocks that occur. The feeling, I was just thinking about this the other day because I'm moving through my own growth edges and my own internal blocks as I go to rebuild and recreate another $1 million company. And so I've filmed these behind the scenes documentary style videos, which is, vlog style, totally different than my normal content. Those of you that have followed me and do follow me. And it's like bringing up some stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm literally just documenting what's happening behind the scenes, but it's bringing up so much stuff inside. And you ever feel like you are just stuck? Like you're smart and you know the thing to do and you actually have the steps. And maybe you've even hired the coach, the business coach or mentor. And you're like, what the hell? Like, I know what to do. It's right here. Or you've hired the fitness coach. You're like, why am I not doing the thing? It's because we need to rewire and upgrade our internal state. And so the nervous system is, in my opinion, the only strategy. You can only override your nervous system for so long, meaning you can push through, right, the internal barriers and things, and you can override that for a little while. But guess what happens as a result of that? Burnout, getting sick, getting chronically ill, having massive amounts of stress in a way that just feels like I literally can't go on like this anymore. Or feeling like you're constantly butting up against the same wall and that you have this feeling of like stuckness and it's super frustrating and it's very uncomfortable and you just want to get as far away from that feeling as possible. It's so frustrating. Like, believe me, I know. I see this with myself. I see this with clients all the time. And it's why when we do the nervous system work, you can really literally rewire and create new neural pathways in the body so that these things no longer become an upper limit. They no longer become this metaphorical glass ceiling. There is no glass ceiling. Like, we know this in truth, right? Or otherwise there wouldn't be people that charge $10,000 an hour for their time or are multi-millionaires or whatever. So we all have an internal thermostat. We all have this internal glass ceiling, no matter what level we're at. Current clients, previous clients, and those of you that are listening, maybe you've made more money than you've ever made in your life, and yet it still feels like you don't have enough. Fuck. Like, more money is actually not going to solve that. You might buy into the lie for a little while, right? You might bypass your nervous system and override the feeling and the emptiness or the lack of fulfillment and chase more money and the dopamine hit that comes with it, but you know that it's fleeting. It is. And so the same goes for all the material things. So nervous system work it's the feeling inside, not just like sad, happy, mad, empty. It's the sensations that go with that. And the nervous system has one job, and that job is to keep us safe. And in keeping us safe, sometimes it wants to keep us the same. And I know that you don't want to stay the same or you wouldn't be seeking growth. Now, let me be clear. Sometimes growth doesn't always look like scaling. Sometimes growth looks like stabilizing, and that's growth too. And it's absolutely necessary to neutralize and normalize maybe new results that you have just achieved in your business, like entering a new tax bracket. I can't tell you how many times people, they come to me and they're like, I'm in this new tax bracket. I feel like I don't have enough money. And like, oh my God, I still have all these money problems, but they've just shifted. I'm like, yeah, yep. They do. They shift. You have more people problems, you have wealth management problems, you have visibility problems in terms of like you're more visible to more people. So more people are ripping you off or trolling you or canceling you or whatever. Yeah, the problems don't go away. They just evolve. And so, how can the nervous system not be the strategy? This is why I see people like literally burn out. And they've gone on to create massive success and they literally can't sustain it. So sustaining is absolutely a crucial part of success as well. So just because you're not scaling doesn't mean you're not growing. Growth can also look like deeper roots. There's still growth happening. It's just in a direction that's not upward, right? Or lateral. So the nervous system as your strategy, what does that look like? Like when I say that, what does it mean? Well, it means that, and as much as I would love for this not to be true, it means you're working with a nervous system trauma trained practitioner is what it means. Because this work is all under the hood. It's running the show, but you can't see where your foot's on the gas. Like I can't even do my own somatic work necessarily. Can I get in my body? Can I do a somatic practice, like take some breaths or do a containment hold or, can I do any of that? Yeah. Like, does it help? Absolutely. But is it rewiring my nervous system? No, because I can't see those parts. And that's the whole purpose of the nervous system. The nervous system's doing its job when it protects you and it unconsciously seeks to do so and it's in an undetected way, right? It's automatic. So, nervous system work does require a trained professional to help you bring up and maybe even connect. Like, let's say that a trauma occurred with your body. The last place you're going to feel safe is going into your body to use a body-based strategy as the strategy for changing your behaviors, right? Or changing your belief system. So taking, the help of a professional that's trained in how to do this is super important. And it takes time. That's the other thing. Nervous system work takes time. As much as we'd love to achieve the healing, it's not the case, unfortunately. We can't Amazon Prime our results. We can't heal. We can't achieve our way to healing. We can only do it at the pace of your nervous system or your nervous system or yours or whoever I'm talking to that's listening in the room right now. And that again is the magic of having a one-on-one trauma trained practitioner working with you and your nervous system, and where it tends to go in high conflict or high stress, right? Because that's also high stakes. When you have high conflict and high stress, you have high stakes as well. You need to make decisions. You need to be agile. You need to think quick on your feet. You need to make things that don't cost you time, money, or energy, like I just talked about in our last episode, or cost you team, especially as you stabilize or scale wherever your growth is in this season. And so the nervous system has to be part of this. So when we work together, you will sit with me on a Zoom call. And when I work with one-on-one clients, I like to do the weekly housekeeping at first. That's where I see the best results. I wish it could just be like, hey, let's just book a sesh. And I've done that with some clients, right? As we start out and navigate and create trust and things like that. But what I find time and again is that every week we meet for 60 minutes to do the weekly housekeeping. But also what's happening here is we are anchoring into and practicing recording new imprints and new behaviors every single week, just like you've been exposed to your upbringing or the way that you were parented and raised, or the way that society constantly is inputting things into our body and brain. Those are recordings, right? Have you ever said something that your parents said to you and you're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? And yet here it is as you are a parent and you're like, I don't even know if I want that rule in my house. I don't even know if I believe that. But yet you were saying it because it's how you were raised, and that tape recording comes out of your mouth because it's what you know. And so if you want to change it, we've got to rewire it. And so we meet once a week for 60 minutes. This is where we keep the dust at bay, if you will. We clear the cobwebs and we do the weekly housekeeping. Because what happens if you let your house, you don't clean it at all for the entire month? a lot of dust builds up, right? A lot of things start to get dirty. And so we've got to keep that pace up. And so what we're doing in those sessions is learning how to connect to your nervous system. It's not just feelings, right? It's not just like, I feel sad. It's like, what does sadness feel like? When you feel sad, where do you feel that? And you might even be thinking like, what is the point of that? Like, I don't have time to sit there and feel my feelings. Well, that's another reason why I have for accountability us doing calls at a pretty frequent clip, because you're practicing making time for that. Because here's the thing, you could, oh, I know that meditating makes me feel better, or I know that I enjoy breath work, or maybe you hate breath work, or like, yeah, I know walking helps. But like, how often do you sit and know those things but don't do those things? So this is like that training session, that personal training session that's on your calendar. You're like, yeah, I'm going to show up to that. So that's why we do it. And then we sit and we start to access the nervous system. Now, every nervous system is different, so every session is different. And there might be something you've brought to the call, to the session, that you're like, man, this is just really activating for me today. This is what I'm challenged with. This is what I've got coming up. I really want to focus on this private fundraising thing I've got going on, or I've got this big board meeting, I'm stepping on stage for the first time and it's the biggest audience ever, or I'm writing my next book, but this one's more personal. And I just, I'm nervous about what's coming up, or I'm just, I'm in this different season. And that's exactly where I work with women like you on that. And so rewiring begins the moment we access the nervous system. So that's where my job comes in. And that's why it's so, so, so important to work with a trauma trained practitioner, somebody that knows what to do when they have your nervous system in front of them, because there's a lot happening, even when it feels like there's not a lot happening. In fact, nervous system work is slow, right? In the session, we expand time and space, the two ingredients needed for actually rewiring and healing, mostly where you didn't get that. And also, there's a specific method that's happening in the nervous system work to actually allow the rewiring to happen, so that, life doesn't necessarily change how many external stimuli are coming at you, but your response and reaction to it does. So that when you step on stage next time, you don't break out in hives and a rash. So that when you go and pen your pages of the book that you want to write, your throat doesn't close up and you get a sore throat and like, laryngitis, right? It is absolutely, and we're going to talk about this in another episode, it's absolutely physical when we are at an upper limit. And that's just a few of the ways that it can be. So now imagine you had a way to access that, get in there, and have someone rewire it with you. That's the work we do. So the nervous system is totally the strategy. In fact, I found myself thinking, just to share a little bit more personally, I've invested, oh my God, close to 6 figures in the past couple years alone, just on business mentorship. And the business programs have been amazing. They have dialed in strategies, amazing solutions, and like it makes sense on paper. But the thing is we all have our own divine path and our own soul's essence that we are called to apply these things to. And I think as we grow, sometimes, and admittedly, like, I think we can plug ourselves into thinking like success needs to look this way because this person has this program and this is the way that they teach it and this is their formula and their framework, and like I'm doing something wrong, or there must be something wrong with me, or I need to figure this out and it's not working. So we've got to figure out a way to listen to ourselves, know our intuition, and also apply the strategy. But I have found that it feels like something is missing when I'm only in a program that focuses on business. That's needed and it's necessary. And also something feels like it's missing. So I know you can have like several different coaches, but wouldn't it be great if you had a coach that could do the business part and also the nervous system part, so that you get both the healing and the rewiring and also the application and the action part? That's exactly why I created the somatic success method, truly. Because I was like, I'm so tired of spaces being one or the other. Or like you buy into a space and it sounds like they do some of that, and then it turns out they don't do any mindset support or any, I'm calling it mindset support, but they don't do any of that kind of work where they help you move through like your mind drama and your bullshit and your stories of limitation that keep you safe, and safe keeps you the same. And so I'm so passionate about this. And I think the nervous system is such an important part of the conversation that if we aren't including it, we are missing the arguably the most important part that can actually change everything. It does take time and it does take consistency because you didn't get here and you don't operate the way you operate overnight. That happens slowly over time with the recording. And so we got to stay close to the work in order to install a new recording, right? So hopefully there's something that you took from this that makes you think about it in a different way. And I do have a few spots open for one-on-one work. Now, if you're like, Keri, I've been in so many containers. I worked with this one therapist, or I was in this one like mastermind, or I just, I don't want to get into this long-term, drawn out contract of like 12 months. And then it turns out I hate you and I hate this work. And these sessions just aren't for me. I would encourage you to reach out to the team. You can email us at hello@elevatewithkeri, KERI.com, and just say, hey, I want to check out the 30-day accelerator. It's a great starting point for putting you on the path to healing. It's a more accelerated container, but it's no commitment beyond the 30 days. So we do 30 days, 4 sessions, you and me, or you and Jelena, my master coach, depending on the level of investment, or if you have it in your heart that you're like, I just know Keri is my mentor or my coach, let's start there, right? Because I know it's a significant investment of both your time and your money to work with me one-on-one. And those spots, when people work with me, they're locked in for like sometimes 2-3 years. So I want to make sure it's the right fit. You want to make sure it's the right fit. Let's start out small, do a 30-day accelerator. And if you even want to start out smaller than that, if you go onto our programs page, which we'll put in the show notes here, we have a power hour. You can just drop in. We could do one session and I can give you a map. If I have 10 minutes with somebody, I can tell them their blind spots. I can tell them their barriers and I can tell them exactly how we get to work on this. Now, are we going to do all the rewiring work in a one session or in 30 days? No, obviously not. But you're going to have so much more awareness and you're actually going to have a map and a way to look at it that you had never had before. You're going to have words for an experience that you never connected before. And now you'll know exactly what to do with that moving forward. So you can even book in a 1-hour session. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're called to do this work and you know that there is just something that's missing, you've invested in business programs, you've been doing the strategy work. I mean, hell, maybe you're even pulling like 14-hour days and you're feeling like you're forcing and pushing and coursing, like, and something is just not feeling right. It's just, you can't figure out where. Let's chat. Let's chat. Right. And it might even mean that your business, it's not where it was before, even in the multi 7-figure marks. Right. I know a lot of people who are in that very place and they're like, man, I was really raking it in a couple of years ago and I'm just not quite where I was before. Cool. Let's work on some things. Let's release any of that old business trauma. Let's rewire some stuff and let's upgrade your success by upgrading your internal state. All right. You know what to do. The links are in the show notes.